All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's KETIV Virtual Academy. My name is Alex Alvarez. I'm going to be the host and the presenter for today's session. So for today, we have a very interesting topic. We're going to be talking about Autodesk Flex. This is something that has recently changed, and believe it or not, we've been getting quite a few calls around this. Some concerns, some questions around this entire service overall. So hopefully I can go ahead and walk through this presentation, this webinar, and give you guys a little bit of clarity as to what's going on. I know we have questions around, is this something that can help me out? Who is this used for? How do we even track some of the usage for some of the users so that we can get a better understanding of if this is something that's going to be something that we can use or not. So I'm hoping to clear out some of those questions, some of those concerns. Again, I don't expect this to take the full hour. I think anywhere from 25-30 minutes, so pretty concise, to the point presentation. But again, it should be hopefully help you guys out a little bit on understanding Autodesk Flex a little bit more. So let's go through a quick agenda for today. In terms of the agenda, we'll be talking about the origins of Flex, a few of the challenges that some of our customers have faced in the past, and solutions that Flex can provide as well. We'll be going over key features, specifically how Flex is different from the more traditional single user subscription service. And then, of course, one of the big questions we have is customer usage data, right? And determining if someone is a good candidate or a good fit for Flex. I do want to be very specific, right? So there are, I want to say as of right now, there are about 56 products currently under the Flex service. Fusion 360 is one of them. So I don't want to, just single out Fusion 360, let everyone think that this is just available for Fusion. There's 56 products available in the Flex, the Flex program or the Flex service. I'll go ahead and kind of walk you guys through what those products are. And then show you guys where you guys can find this information as well. But Fusion 360, I think, in my opinion, has the most use cases for Flex and Flex tokens. So I do want to be clear on, and explain, be a little bit thorough about how Fusion 360 is going to change in these upcoming days. So let's go ahead and jump straight into it. Again, a quick introduction about myself. If you guys have never talked to me, I'm the manufacturing practice lead here at KETIV Technologies. And really, my primary role is just focused around the manufacturing tool sets, right? So whether it's consulting, training, or mentoring around those tool sets, such as PowerMill, FeatureCam, InventorCam, Fusion 360, that's where I typically get brought in. Again, my experience is on design and manufacturing. So chances are, if you've had any questions around design and manufacturing, specific workflows, maybe issues on specific support cases, chances are you've spoken to me in the past. A little fun fact about me is that I actually started off as an intern here at KETIV Technologies back in 2016. So quite some time ago. And again, my experience mostly has been through some of the teams that I was a part of in school. So more specifically, the Baja team, I was running the machines and getting a full understanding of what it takes to actually go from design to manufacturing. Big eye opener when you're in school and you design a part, you quickly realize that you're not a great designer there pretty fast. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump straight into what we're going to be talking about today. So a little bit about why Autodesk created Flex and some of the challenges that customers were having. Again, Flex, believe it or not, has actually been out for some time at the enterprise level. Right? So again, if you're watching this as an enterprise, you might be asking yourself, well, this isn't new to us. And that's true. You guys have been able to access this Flex program or this Flex service at the enterprise level. Autodesk has now introduced this, or they have now rolled this out to the rest of the consumer base. The primary use case for Flex that we're seeing from customers is that they have users that don't need really a dedicated subscription, and they don't want the cost associated of having a dedicated subscription for that user. So maybe a user that might only be using the product for a couple days, right? And again, I know that there's a little bit of questions and concerns there. Well, what do you justify a couple days, right? So what is a couple days? What we're seeing both on our end and on the Autodesk side is if a user is using a product more than 7 days, chances are subscription is still going to be your best bet, right? And again, I do want to be clear on that. Autodesk Flex does not take over subscriptions, you guys still have the option to work with subscriptions and even mix and match here with Flex and subscriptions. So again, no worries there, right? So you can still access subscriptions, you can still buy a subscription service, but Autodesk Flex is now kind of a new introduction to the user base. So another challenge from customers is again, what if they need to ramp up quickly on a project, right? And we see this pretty often. Maybe a customer bids on a project, they get the project maybe last minute, or maybe they don't have the correct users, or they need to hire on more people, grow the team a little bit to carry out this project. That can be a very tedious process. Getting new products, setting up the new users, managing the new users. Maybe a few people got transitioned, or they changed roles within the company. It can be a very tedious process to manage all of that, right? Again, this is one of those things that Flex can now kind of help you guys out with. And for some customers, even if they are on an industry collection, there might be additional products that aren't included with that collection, right? And they will only use maybe that product for a handful of times. So in my case, I know a good scenario or user case has been you're using the product design and manufacturing collection. Maybe an additive project comes into play, right? Or you want to bid on that project. Maybe not necessarily you want the software, the entire software for the entire year, but maybe you want a software that can now handle additive, right? Or kind of carry that project out. If you want to do testing, right? I know for some of the make products like PowerMill, FeatureCam, PartMaker, you don't necessarily get trial versions, right? So now you have that opportunity or that option to then purchase a few Flex tokens, run the software for maybe a day, 2 days, 3 days, test out, do a proof of concept, and then ensure that you can actually follow through with that bid, right, or that project. So again, these are just a handful of primary use cases that we've seen, from customers in terms of choosing Flex. So for customers, when they choose Flex, one of the primary benefits is around cost optimization, right? So customers are actually able to pay for what they use. They're going to pay a daily rate for products as the users are actively using the product. So again, it helps match the cost to their usage at the end of the day. Customers are able to get up and running much more quickly. So they're spending less time on administration and procurement. Again, as users need access to these products, they can be added to the token pool, and then essentially just get up and running much more quickly. Right? And if users need to try additional products, again, because of the daily rate, there's a lot less risk that comes with that testing process. Right? So long as a product is a part of Flex, users can try out the software and then decide if that's something that they do want to continue with. So some key features of Flex and what makes it unique, really, bottom line, it's going to be for occasional users, right? So if you have a user that's using what I consider a powered user, right? They come into work, they're using the software, they log in at 7, 8 a.m., and they're using the software for the entire day, maybe 3 days of the week, 4 days of the week, this Autodesk Flex is not going to be for them. Right. It's for those people that, and I hate to say this, but that still call Autodesk AutoCAD. Right. So maybe they're not too familiar with the company. They're using the software only a handful of times. Maybe they need to have access to Inventor to open up an assembly. Take a look at if you guys were doing, let's say, an electromechanical workflow. Right. Maybe it's an electrical engineer that needs to access Inventor to take a look at the wiring or the wire routing, right, or something like that. Again, they're not going to be using that software day in, day out, but again, maybe once a week, twice a week, they need access to that tool. It's an inexpensive way to have quick access to all of the Autodesk top products. Again, I'll share a list here with you guys shortly on where you can see the list of products, but again, please keep in mind, this list is evolving. Like I said, this Flex has been out for some time at the enterprise level, but now that Autodesk has rolled this out to the rest of the users, I can definitely see them adding, a lot more products to the list that I'm about to show you guys here in a bit. And then one thing that I also want to point out here as well is that you can easily manage Flex alongside the subscription. Right? Again, if you're an admin at your company that's or maybe a CAD admin, you now have the ability to track the usage, right? So maybe there's a user that's not using the software as much, or maybe you now have visibility to see, okay, this person is only accessing it for a couple hours, right? You can now track that and see exactly whether you need to keep them on subscription or maybe transition that user over to the Flex service. And again, you can have dedicated users to assign to subscription and occasional users to be assigned to Flex. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about some of the top products included with Flex. Again, this isn't the entire list. I'll show that in just a bit. On the product design and engineering side, you have AutoCAD, you have Fusion 360, you have Alias, 3ds Max, Inventor, right, Vault as well. And then the pricing that's associated with it, right? So 7 tokens a day. Notice depending on the software, again, it is going to change. Now, one thing that again I do want to be very clear on, you guys may be familiar with cloud credits, right? Or maybe you guys have heard cloud credits. If you guys have been using maybe Fusion 360, you guys are familiar with cloud credits. As of yesterday, cloud credits are no longer available, right? So meaning you can't buy them anymore. If you still have access to cloud credits, I think you can still, they got grandfathered in and you can still use them. But again, if you wanted to buy cloud credits or if you were looking for cloud credits, as of yesterday, Autodesk no longer offers cloud credits, right? And so now that's being replaced with what you see here, what we call Flex tokens. I know in the past when I've had conversations with customers, obviously it depended on the cloud credit pack, right? So typically, generally speaking, 1 cloud credit was equivalent to $1 US. What we're seeing now is that 1 token is equivalent to $3 US, right? So if you do the math here, 7 tokens per day, roughly $21 per day. And again, I do want to be clear on this as well. Per day, what does that mean, right? Is that calendar day? Is that on an hourly basis? It is on a 24-hour basis, right? So meaning you log into the software at 11 a.m. You log out at 5 a.m. You go ahead and you use it the next day at 9 a.m. If you don't pass that 11 a.m. Threshold, you can still use it with, again, the 7 tokens per day. Right. As soon as you go past the 11th hour there, or sorry, not the 24th hour, it's going to go ahead and charge you the additional 7 tokens. Right. Okay, so this is on the product design and engineering side. Again, some of your top products: AutoCAD, Fusion, and Inventor, 3ds Max. Here on the manufacturing and production, right? Fusion 360 again, Power Mill, Power Shape, NetFab. Notice that the complexity of the level as the software increases, it's going to get a little bit pricier, right? Not only that, but the services that these softwares offer as well. Some of these softwares are going to be cloud-based. Fusion 360, maybe NetFab has a couple cloud-based capabilities, or it needs a lot of computing power. Therefore, it is going to be costing a little bit more to use per day. All right, so on the media and entertainment side, so you have 3ds Max, Motion Builder, Flame, right? So these are all tools that help you create animations, maybe renderings. You have Maya in here as well, right? So funny story, we actually had a colleague named Maya. So when people would call in, you can imagine the confusion that took place there. But yeah, nonetheless, it has a lot of the top products that people are using on a day-to-day basis. Again, want to make sure that I emphasize this. You're not limited. Everyone has access to Flex. If you wanted to use subscription, you still can use subscription, right? This is just one of those things. Does it make sense for some of my users to transition them over to a Flex solution? So what does it look like from a high level overview, right? So if you do want to transition over to Flex, the first thing that you have to do is buy the tokens for your team, right? So they do come in packs, and I'll show you kind of what the minimum number of tokens that you can buy is. Once you buy the tokens, you can then assign users to the token pool, right? Like we talked about. So you're going to have a set list of users that can then access these tokens. So as they're turning the software on, as they're logging in, they're going to be charged, the X number of tokens per day. Use tokens again when Flex user opens a product, and then step 4, as a CAD admin or as an administrator within your company, you can then track the token usage and spending. Right. So let's go ahead and take a look at inside of Fusion 360, and I'll actually go ahead and open up a website here just to show you guys why Fusion 360 is kind of included in my webinar here. So I'll go ahead and go over to the Autodesk.com products website. And so again, if you go into Fusion 360 and you take a look at the extensions, you'll see here right away, right, that you have different extensions for the software. So again, if you guys haven't been keeping up with Fusion 360, again, it's a tool that I think has a lot of functionality, a lot of capabilities, and also depending on the industry that you're serving, can definitely help you guys out in the long run, right? So you have a simulation extension, you have generative design here, you have the machining extension, nesting and fabrication, and so on and so forth. What you want to take a look at here, and what you want to be careful with is, even though these are available for you to buy as subscription, right? As a subscription right now, you still can access the extensions with the Flex tokens, right? Now, again, I want to explain that again. You can buy the extension for a whole year, right? So let's say you're using the simulation capabilities pretty often, right? Instead of using it maybe once a week or twice a week, instead of paying on a usage base, you can just pay for the extension for the entire year, right? Same thing with generative design. So that's what this is referring to. If you click on learn more, you can then go ahead and take a look at, the pricing for it. So if you click on see pricing options, it'll tell you exactly how much that extension is going to cost on a year-to-year basis. Now, this is where, again, if you weren't using it pretty often, if you go over to the Autodesk Flex website, now this website is pretty neat. Again, if this is something that you guys are considering and you guys want to estimate how many tokens are needed for a specific software, you can go ahead and carry that out inside of this web page here. Right. So first thing that it'll walk you through is Flex right for you, right? So kind of the same steps that I kind of walked you through and kind of demonstrated. The one important link here is probably going to be the products available with Flex, right? So it'll show you kind of a list of different tabs. You click on learn more, it'll show you the entire list. And here you can see a comprehensive list of, the actual software itself and the estimated cost per day. Right. So again, roughly, if you do the math, roughly a token is going to cost $3 here. So now you can start taking a look at how many tools are out there that you can use with the Flex service here, right? So Feature Cam is one of them, and this is what I was talking about on the Fusion 360 side, right? So again, in my opinion, I think Fusion 360 is going to be the one that's going to be mostly impacted, and that's because, again, it was using cloud credits in the past, but now that Autodesk is moving away from that and transitioning over to Flex tokens, this is what you're going to be paying with, right? So the additive build extension, again, this is something that, again, maybe not a lot of people are using day in, day out, but if you are, maybe it makes more sense to buy the extension yearly instead of paying on a day-to-day basis, right? You guys can kind of figure that out and do the math and see if that's something that would make the most sense. Same thing with machining extension. Right? Maybe there's some hobbyists or there's some people on the shop floor that aren't necessarily using the full advanced functionality that Fusion 360, that the machining extension offers. Again, it doesn't make sense to pay for the entire extension. Maybe a couple times if you need a fourth axis wrap toolpath or something along those lines, go ahead and just pay for the extension on a day-to-day basis. Right? Now the other thing that I wanted to show. So let me go ahead and bring up Fusion 360 real quick. For everyone to see. This is a common question that I'm getting with the software as well, what exactly can you pay with Flex tokens inside of Fusion 360? There's actually a quick way to see if you're a user, right? And if you have been using cloud credits or Flex tokens, there's a quick way for you to actually see, your quantity of Flex tokens and which products or which extensions you can buy with the Flex tokens here. If you go up to your user profile up here at the very right, so go ahead and click on that. If you click on preferences, if you go to tokens and cloud credits, this is where you can see a list of all of your information, right? So if you have tokens, what does the balance look like? How many do you have? If you're sharing an account with a different division, this is where you can see that information as well. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, this is where you can actually see everything that you can pay for with tokens inside of Fusion 360, right? So renderings, you can go ahead and do renderings, pay for those. Again, these are Flex tokens, right? Not to be confused with cloud credits. Generative design, it'll tell you the cost for that per generation. Simulation, so these are the different simulation studies that you can pay with Flex tokens, right? And then same thing here at the bottom, right? So structural buckling, nonlinear static stress. Again, this is something that the software actually tells you exactly how much it's going to be charging you for. Okay, so again, a lot of functionality within the tool. The last thing here that I wanted to cover is just make sure that you guys are aware of the different extensions that have been included with the software. So one quick way, obviously the website to take a look at that, but if you also click on the extensions command up here inside of Fusion 360, you can see everything that Autodesk has built and added into the software itself, right? So primarily, this one is going to be interesting to a lot of people, especially if you're focusing around consumer products. If you're working with plastic injection molding, this is something that you guys can definitely take a look at, right? And again, access options, you can go ahead and say purchase access using the credit card. This is where I don't want to confuse people, but I know it's going to come up, and I wanted to address this now. Like I said, if you still have cloud credits, this is where I think it got grandfathered in, and it still gives you the option to use your cloud credits, right? So the reason why I bring this up again is because I know I'm going to get questions on this. I want to make sure that everyone's aware. If you see this on your end, chances are you still have cloud credits. But again, you can't purchase cloud credits at this point. You can only use what you have, right? Or you can start a 7-day free trial if you wanted to. So design advice also comes in with this extension. So again, if you want to identify manufacturability concerns based on industry best practices, right? So there is a kind of a widget that walks you through, okay, maybe this part, the fillet, you might want to take a look at that. It might be too small, or it actually gives you advice on your 3D modeling techniques, right, and your 3D models. So again, tons of information here with Fusion 360. I plan on doing a more in-depth on the extensions. But like I said, the sole reason I'm talking about Fusion 360 here is because it has a lot of extensions, a lot of built-in add-ins that you can buy with Flex tokens, right? So let's go back to the presentation here and see if there's any questions. Again, I'll do a quick review of what we talked about. So again, origins of Flex, solutions that Flex can provide. Again, if this is still a little bit unclear, like I said, feel free to reach out. Don't hesitate. I'll share my contact info here with everyone here in just a bit. I know this is a change for some people, or maybe something that they're interested in analyzing a little bit further. So again, just feel free to reach out. We can kind of walk you through and see if this is something that can be beneficial to you guys. Talked about the overview and key features of Flex, and then of course, how does this affect Fusion 360? Right, being that Fusion 360 was a tool that heavily relied on cloud credits. Real quick, I do want to talk about some additional resources. Make sure if you guys are, oops, there we go. If you guys are a frequent viewer, next week we are going to have a KVA on what's new in ANSYS Fluent 2022. And then the other thing here is Autodesk University, right? So I think it's going to take place at the end of this year, or November, December timeframe. If you guys can please go to the Autodesk University website, recommend our session featuring a customer of ours. What we plan on doing is we plan on walking through exactly the issues that we solved, and then how we were able to solve some of those issues, right, and some of those workflow bottlenecks that they were having. So this is something that you guys can just recommend this session, and it definitely is going to help us out. But I think for now, let's go ahead and open it up to any Q&A. I see a few of them on my end, so I'm going to go ahead and start answering a few. If I have no internet access, can I use Autodesk Flex? So that's a great question. So if you have no internet access, it's actually a yes and no question, or answer, I should say. Yes, you can use Autodesk Flex without internet access, but you would need to have the purchase of the tokens being connected, right? So what I mean by that is you need to make sure that you have internet connection when you sign on to the software, right? Because that's what's going to charge your account. And then after that, you have a 24-hour period that you can have no internet connection, right? So you bring up a great point. If you see yourselves not having internet connection for a couple days of the week, Autodesk Flex may not be the best solution for you guys, right? At that point, subscription is still the recommended choice. Okay, so is the amount of tokens used on a per calendar day basis, right? So I'm assuming if you're, if you buy or if you open the software on 3/31/2022, is it going to last till the end of 3/31/2022? The answer to that is no. It's on an hourly basis, right? So you get 24 hours. If you open it at 8 a.m., you have until the next day, 8 a.m. to use the software without getting charged. This is a great question here. Do Flex tokens roll over after each year? Unfortunately, they do not. So that is one thing that you want to be very, very clear about and make sure that you track that. And I will kind of branch off a little bit here real quick, but you can also have the reseller, right? So us in this case, if we are your current reseller, we can track that information for you. And we can see, okay, they're getting close to the end of the year, of purchase. Let's go ahead and make sure that they're aware, right? So we can set up a specific time, maybe 3 months ahead of time, 4 months ahead of time, before those tokens expire, keep you guys updated and let you guys know that you guys are about to lose, X number of tokens. But yeah, they do not roll over after each year. So you want to make sure that you use all of them before the purchase date, right? The year purchase date. So we have a great question here from Henrik. What's the break even for using token versus full subscription? You can, so like I said, inside of that website, let me go back to that website that I was showing here. Let me see if I can buy tokens. If you go, Henrik, into this website, and if you say estimate tokens needed, you can fill out information such as, how many users, which product, in this case, if you type in inventor, right, you can go ahead and say inventor, type that in, say the users, and then give it the number of days, right, that you plan on using this on a monthly basis, right? So if you take a look at the description, it'll walk you through exactly that. Based off of this information, it's going to tell you whether it recommends Flex, or if you estimate X number of days, then it's going to go ahead and say, okay, maybe you're better off using the subscription, right? If not, what you can do is you can go ahead and use that pricing sheet, right, and then calculate, okay, I'm using the software this number of times. This is how much the product design and manufacturing collection costs. Then I can go ahead and weigh my options that way, right? But yeah, this is what I would recommend you give it a shot first here. Okay. So is it possible to buy tokens for example, and for a half day? The answer to that is no. So you do have a minimum number of tokens that you can buy. If I go back here, yeah, minimum number of tokens, it looks like it's going to be 100 tokens, right? So $300 is what that's going to cost you. Notice that as you increase the packaging of this, you get a little bit of a discount, right? But again, you want to make sure that you're going to use the entire tokens, because again, they don't roll over after each year, right? So it's not like you can buy 7 tokens or 21 tokens. Minimum for this is going to be 100 tokens here. All right, so I'll give it a couple more seconds here. Again, guys, this is like I said, a new topic to majority of the users, right? Like I said, if you're coming from the enterprise, you've probably already heard of Autodesk Flex, but for the majority of the users here, this is going to be somewhat new. So of course, if you have any more questions, I know this can be a little confusing. Feel free, again, reach out. We can walk you through exactly what this looks like. All right. All right, guys. Yeah, so I'm not seeing any more questions. Again, I want to thank you guys for taking some time out of your busy schedule and tuning into the session. Like I said, go into our website, take a look at what's going to be coming up next. Again, for today's session, I've had quite a few calls throughout the day, throughout the week, kind of talking about Autodesk Flex. And again, with the whole cloud credits being removed yesterday, that kind of added to the confusion as well. So hopefully that cleared up a few of the questions for you. If not, please feel free to reach out to support@ketiv.com. Those questions will then get relayed to me, and then I can go ahead and get back to you guys on any additional questions that you guys might have. So with that, guys, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you on the next one.